you taking the time.
Good to be here.
Yeah, thanks. Well, just why don't we start from the beginning? So what is it that you are interested in? What have you been spending your time doing?
So I'm trying to figure out how we are going to act as humans in the digital age, basically. So the broad category of what we talk about here is private resources for public benefit in the digital age. So that's the digital civil society level. But really, we're talking about how are people giving money away? How are they volunteering their time? How are they using their personal networks? How are they activating their communities to make the world a better place? And in the digital age, the part that matters there is not only the gadgets. We all know that you can mobilize lots more people than you could before. You can use your social network in new ways, but trying to understand what it means to be doing that with this particular resource that is digital data. That's what's transferring and traveling across all those pipes and wires.
Sure. When you talk about civil society, what do you mean by that?
Well, there's three parts of a democracy. There's the market, where we do things that benefit the two of us. So you and I can have an exchange, a sale, as long as we're both going to benefit. Then there's the public sector, which is where we use public resources, tax dollars, to build things for everybody and to redistribute wealth in some way and make sure that everybody has some access to basic services. And then this weird third space that if you think about it, why do we need it?
Sure.
What's it for?
Yeah.
But not only do we need it, we've built it significantly. In the States, it's enormous. It's 10% of GDP.
Wow.
And in the States and in the UK, for example, it's incentivized in law.
Sure.
So what is it for? Is for me as a person to decide that I want something that neither the government or the market is providing, and I'm going to figure out with my community how to make that happen. Now, sometimes it's protest.
Sure.
Right? So another shorthand for civil society is in a democracy where the majority rules, the civil society is where the minority still gets a voice.
Which is vital. Absolutely,
especially in societies where that minority may well be 49.5% of the population.
Right, yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So it's critical. It's critical to keeping the other sectors kind of honest, if you will. It pushes back on them. That's where the protest fits in. It's critical to expression.
Sure.
I mean, art and culture and all of those things aren't going to necessarily be fully supported by either of the other two sectors.
I know you focus on data a lot.
Yeah.
So why is data interesting now?
Yeah. So digital data in particular. Because as you know, digital data are ones and zeros. There's this whole binary environment out there that now can include everything from spreadsheets to this table, right? We can make them all in the same form. And they're a fundamentally different economic asset than what we're used to. We've built all of our institutions of society, our schools, our nonprofits, our businesses, our government, based on an assumption that the things we're exchanging are analog. If I handed you my phone, you would have my phone, and I wouldn't.
Sure, right, yeah.
We can't both have that item.
Yes.
The data on that phone, we could both have.
That's sure,
right?
Yeah.
So it's a fundamentally, at that level, it's different. None of us alive today have any idea what it's like to live in a world where there's going to be squillions, to use your word, of data points on us stored by people and institutions that we have no control over. This is a fundamentally different kind of thing that we're now trying to manage so we can do tremendous things with it, right? We can solve all kinds of new problems because we can make sense of information that we have ready access to.
I guess in many ways, data is a currency in its own right.
Absolutely.
Because even if you look at Facebook and how everyone uses Facebook, no, we don't pay to use Facebook. But only our actions feed in to developing the economy of Facebook.
That's exactly right.
You know, it's our eyeballs that are the currency, effectively. As we choose to look and click on things, that's what Facebook then sells to other businesses to make their money. So
well, that's why I say to people when they want to know, how do you know data has value? I say, look at these companies that have gone public for $1 billion. Right?
Yeah.
They see value. This is actually being debated by financial experts, but is it an asset?
Sure.
How do you manage it? How do you govern it? How do you control it? Who decides? And when do you destroy it? That's one of the most interesting questions, is when do you get to destroy this stuff?
Data in itself is not useful.
Right.
It's only useful when we can figure out what's going on with it.
That's right.
And how it mirrors our behaviors or our activities. But how do we actually get the value out of it to actually understand ourselves better and move forwards? And yeah, and what parts of it should be just thrown away because it's not right to know or it's not helpful to know.
What it is we want to know shapes what it is we collect.
Sure.
Right? So data is this weird thing. It doesn't come out of nowhere. It is shaped by what we're trying to do. And then now in the digital age, there's so much of it we think, well, we can do all kinds of things with it. But some of those things we should do, and some of them we might not want to do. This is why the conversations about transparency have become so important, privacy, and really, I think at the heart, go back to that kind of civil society definition. If you think of that as the place where you and I might get together and do something together, that is called opting in. Yeah. Right? In today's parlance, that's about opting in and making something happen. So when we think about how we use this resource for that kind of work, I think we should hold on to that value of this is an opt-in thing. Yeah. This is a choice.
It's about basic respect, isn't it?
Exactly.
You know, it would be weird if I acquired all kinds of personal information through a private investigator about you and then use that power to kind of control the conversation with you to make it seem like I was randomly and serendipitously talking about things when really it was from a base of information. That would be weird and not right. If I had acquired information about you, I should at least admit it. I should at least be like, oh, Lucy, I'm such a fan. I've actually done all my research and know everything about you. At least if I say that, that's still a bit creepy, but at least there's some kind of respect that you're not being manipulated in the same way. There is a massive difference between telling someone what you know about them and not telling them what you know about them. That for me, that's what it comes down to.
That's what algorithms do online all the time.
Yeah.
And they show us certain things, and there's a selection process in that, and that's based on data.
We have like 10, 15 sensors on our mobile phones that are like passively, ambiently accruing all this information. We don't even understand the basic principles yet. And so even like within Givey, on a very basic level, I want to just show each user, okay, you are a column on our Excel spreadsheet, and these are the rows of data we collect on you. We're doing it because we want to help you connect with stuff that matters and connect with your friends, connect with causes you're interested in, connect with other stuff in your area. And we need that data to do that well and easily, but if you don't like it, then that's cool, and that's up to you, you know.
And I think what's really important at the basis of that, David, is not just, transparency has almost become just kind of a meaningless catchphrase. You used the word earlier. It's about respect. It's about saying to people, this is what we're doing, and this is where you fit into it. If this benefits you and you're okay with this, let's keep going.
Sure.
It's like, that's the value exchange. And most of us are making that value exchange subconsciously already all the time when we decide to use a search engine or a social network. When you get involved with things that are about doing good in the world and respecting individuals and that opt-in, knowing that this is voluntary, being more transparent, more honest about what that exchange is, I think is only going to benefit us all.
I've dipped my toe in the water of making YouTube videos. It's such a data-rich community. I can put out the best video I can think of, and I might get an extra 20 subscribers. If I hang out with one of my friends for a day and film a video with him, I'll get 10,000 new subscribers. So in a world where those subscribers equal views and views equal advertising revenue that gets shared to me, me hanging out with my mate for the day is a currency that lines my pockets, which does all sorts of crazy things to the agenda of relationship. Because let's bring it to the surface. At least that goes some way to starting to account for the fact there's a new agenda on the table.
That's right. Well, that's how you would treat a friend. That's the respect to say, hey, I know this is happening. The other part of that is the degree to which those followers and those watchers are also influencing that conversation. They can vote with their feet faster than any other population.
It is the economy of eyeballs. If you don't want this platform to continue, then stop looking at it.
But what excites me about Givey, for example, is the idea of really trying to understand the habits of giving and what they look like in the digital space, not assuming that the habits of giving from the offline world just transfer automatically into this new environment.
Hopefully now we'll begin to get more creative around the idea of, as you say, not just bringing in the old knowledge of how giving used to be, but actually within this wired data-driven economy, what do people do? Why do they give, and what makes them give? You know, with all the data you can collect about a person, what data is relevant in terms of helping us to be able to develop a culture of giving that is engaged, that is regular. Because I feel that the more we engage consciously with stuff outside of ourselves, the more it affects how we view our role in society. So we're measuring what is the average length of time between donations, and how long has it been since your last donation? Have you seen anything like that, or could you imagine any other data that would be interesting to measure, trying to think about the habit?
No, I haven't seen anything like thinking about the frequency of giving, and I think it's a fascinating and really important thing to understand better. We have thousands of years of knowledge of knowing that, in fact, when people really care about something, they participate in it on a regular basis. And now with the digital environment, we can actually see what that looks like, if you will, and see what they want to help them do that more often. People are contributing to public art projects because they think it's cool, because they want it to happen, not because there's a tax deduction, not because it's a nonprofit. And I think one of the things Givey will be able to look at in the future is doing things that contribute to others, that put us in, as you said, we're sharing our communities challenges together, but it doesn't always qualify as giving. It might be
tax deductible,
charitable donation. It might be something else. And we don't even have a language for it, which is why I'm sort of stumbling here, right? But certainly you look at these crowdfunding platforms, and people are, you know, they're supporting filmmakers, and they're supporting public art, and they're supporting new parks, and they're supporting all this kind of stuff, and it's not quite clear it even fits into our old definition of public-private civil society. That's fascinating. And that habit of doing good, that habit of putting yourself in there to work and do something together with others to make the world better. I mean, I'm all for more of that. I don't need to call it some specific thing. If we're smart now about what we're looking for, then we can be inclusive in all the data that we look to help us see those patterns. But if we continue to sort of impose this is charity, and this is public, and this is commerce, then we're not going to see the interesting crossings.
Is there a set of questions that you think are interesting to focus on at the moment?
Well, and this brings me back to that kind of bumper sticker phrase I used in the beginning. So maybe it'll make a little more sense now, which is, how do we use our private resources? You and I use what you and I control to do things for ourselves and others, right? That where the primary intention is to help our community or help another community, right? It's not about benefiting myself. How are we doing that in the digital age?
So in a world where the buckets might change, the institutions might change, the laws will have to change at some point. Do you think there is something in this idea of giving, forget to charity, just the idea of giving where it's not a transaction? Do you think that that's something important for our future? Or do you think a world could operate just in markets where we...
No, I don't. I don't think democracy can thrive in that. I don't think democracy can exist. I actually think this is a question of democracy. Because, go back to that definition of, okay, in a democracy, majority wins. The minority could be 49.5, 49.9. That's an unstable... If there's no place for that minority, however large or small. I mean, it could also be a 1% minority. But that does, if you allow the 99% to completely control it, then you've got autocracy, you don't have democracy. There needs to be a place where outside of the efficiency, where efficiency is kind of the core value of markets, but some things efficiency is not the core value. Like expression, art, respect.
You don't ever look at a painting and say, well, that is not efficient enough.
He certainly saved a lot of paint strokes, right? That's not what we're talking about here. So there's a whole series of human characteristics of human desires that need to, and values that need to be, I don't even want to just say accommodated, but nurtured in order for democracy and markets to thrive. I mean, in my view of the world, the political system that we're striving for in this country, the US, and the economic structure we're striving for, which is an efficient capitalist system with some fairness to it, depends on civil society. It's not that they're accommodating us. They actually depend.
Sure, that's an interesting way of viewing it. I guess in some of my more, I don't know, ambitious days with Givey, I love the idea that we could be an institution that holds charities, businesses, government to account on behalf of the people. And I've often said to my guys, if we ever stop representing what the people actually want, then we should tear this thing down, because it's just like every other institution that we don't like. Organizations that are interested in helping facilitate and grow that third sector are not just like a nice to have, but like vital, like yeast in the system to kind of mess with the system and to hold it account.
Yeast is a good metaphor. If you take what you just said, let's use civil society and the organizations and structures in it as the yeast to a thriving democracy, thriving politics, and thriving markets. There's a real question. What do those organizations, what is that yeast, what do they need to do? What do they need to look like in DNA. Regard to digital data? How do you take care of that resource that's coming to you from people and you're trying to put back to use for community? So it's about transparency, it's about consent, it's about ownership, it's about security, it's about privacy, and it's about destruction. It's about, back to your YouTube example of your conversation with your buddies, if you didn't have that conversation with your buddy about what you're getting out of that exchange, it becomes it's corroded. It feels bad. It's creepy.
Exactly.
So you don't do that. You have the conversation. Same for the organizations in civil society. We owe it to ourselves. We owe it to our communities. We owe it to that space, and we may well owe it to democracy. May depend on us doing this. That we, in that space, treat the data differently. We don't default to the way business uses it, or the way business communicates about how they use it, and we don't default to the way government uses it or the way government communicates about how they use it. We have a different kind of conversation, and if we're doing things with the data, we let people know that we're doing things with their data.
The great thing about living simply, or like building your institution simply so that people can understand, means they're more empowered, and then they can actually trust you more deeply and care more passionately about what it is, the work that you're doing and the organization you're building. So there's massive benefits as well. It's not just like, oh, more work. There's good things, great things about it.
That's right. And trust is a key word there. I mean, nonprofits and they'll tell you for years that it's all about trust. Well, we need to be trusted in the digital space. I say, how we use our data will define this space. And if we can use it in a trustworthy way and have a respectful conversation in all those software encoded, organizational coded, and legal ways, then we'll be able to continue in this space. Otherwise, we've got some problems ahead.
Well, let's see where we get to.
Yeah, let's do it.
Thank you so much, Lucy. I really appreciate it.